the deity of gardens and trees.
Yeah, well, that's really, and I mean, the iconography there is really strange.
Don't you think so?
Well, only the...
Do you see the Shenlong again on the right? I think he looks like a...
Except he has a plant growing out of his head, which is bizarre. And the other one has rocks growing out of his head because he's the deity of, Sansui.
Because she's Susan.
So
the two attendants. But then again, it's just drawing on nature and
exactly, and gardens, formal gardens depend, in the Qing dynasty, obviously depended on having these taihu rocks, the ones that that are sculpted to look
to look like Guilin. So like that. It's always a Sansui Hua sort of thing where
they reflect famous poetic landscapes, so that you can sit there and be reminded of them. And I suppose we might think like a rock deity for gardens is a bit strange, but I suppose these are the elements that would make up a good garden: the plants carefully arranged and rocks carefully arranged,
the water, and but it's just it's got depiction of the willow on the left, isn't it? Is that the willow above the rocks?
Yeah,
looks like in a pine and a pine tree.
Again, I think you possibly could read too much into that, but I suppose they are. Well, they are essential parts of a Chinese garden. Willows
and pine.
Very evocative, full of meaning. I'm slightly surprised there isn't bamboo, but then this is northern China, I suppose, where possibly bamboo is less prolific anyway.
But it's just interesting. I wonder, when you go on to a different area itself, would the plants and background change?
Well, I think in southern China, you couldn't have a garden without bamboo. So the deity here in this one is holding some lotus stems.
I was just going to say, were they lotus? They look like lotus pods, isn't it? There's two of them.
Yeah, but
probably pine cones.
Well, no, I think there's some lotus heads there with
there's two of them,
and then above them there's two things which are very strange. Now they could be pine cones, they could be pineapples, which again have a sort of separate iconography, but more likely I suppose to be pine cones, but still a bit weird. You don't often see pine cones depicted in Chinese art. And
they're not on stems anyway as well.
Well,
I mean, they just stand alone. But it's just interesting, and I'm also looking at number 37, your 虫王之神.
Oh yeah.
With all his insects and.
Oh, it's a favourite one of mine, that because it's such a this is one of those prints, as the last one was, of course, that is absolutely specific to this deity. It can't really be anybody else. Because of all the, the creepy crawlies there. You've got some butterflies, a centipede, a scorpion, a grasshopper.
A grasshopper and snake.
I don't really see butterflies as pests, maybe moths in this case. But then very bizarrely, you've got birds and a deer, which are usually quite auspicious. So I was wondering whether they're seen as maybe they're
like a counter.
That maybe these deities familiars that are actually going to go out there and clear the pests up for you.
And then he's got a little attendant as well.
It does, holding one of these round boxes, which sort of possibly for harmony or
probably but
it's holding the
Ruyi.
Wand. Although interestingly, that the head of the Ruyi
it's different.
Is flaming, although he's framed in a linter fungus design, which would be more in keeping with the Ruyi. So again, you've got all this interesting. Like, what's that there? Why is this there? It's.
I think you just go crazy picking apart a particular print.
It's just fun to speculate, There's also a snake here, which is not really.
There is, isn't it?
But
a grasshopper.
Pest. You don't really see them as an agricultural pest, more of a, one of the 5 illnesses.
The 5, the Udu. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Where then again, the centipede would have come in, isn't it? Centipede, snake, and scorpion.
Yeah, again, yeah, you're right with the poisonous thing, but the centipede's more in keeping, I suppose, with insects.
Yeah.
With insects, I think more in terms of agriculture rather than
that would probably be a locust then instead of a grasshopper.
Yeah, well, yes, anything that causes damage.
Yeah, but it actually looks really cute.
It does. It looks like it's sort of smiling.
It looks like it's smiling. I was just going to say.
And the birds, in that case, could be agricultural pests like pigeons and things that you wouldn't necessarily around.
Yeah, but then a deer might be a celestial sign.
Yeah, it might be. So again,
or it could be his mount.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
there you go.
So there you go. We've got lots of, this is a deity where there actually is quite a lot of information on.
Yeah.
And even here we're trying to interpret it. So where you don't have information on the deity, it's showing how incredibly complicated it can be, or actually impossible to work out. I wanted to put out a book on them because. Firstly, the information on them is hard to get, and some of these deities already, as we've been discussing, actually nobody really knows what they are. There's another one, the second Uncle Wang, print number 23.
23.
Wang Erye.
Wang Erye 之神, the princess. Yeah.
So again, actually, nobody knows who this is. I haven't been able to find any information. Again, Wang Shuzhen says he's the patron of porters and carters, but to be honest, I'm not sure he's right on that. And I'm only saying that. Obviously, he was from Beijing. He collected these things all his life.
Yeah,
and he'd be in a very good position, and obviously from a much older generation. So I'm being rather rude in a way by questioning his interpretation here, but I think I'm not convinced by the iconography of an old man wheeling riches.
I think it's just a peddler of some sort, but then he's got jewels.
It is a local. It must be some sort of local story that has since become obscure, and the kids
and the lady and
and the two children
the two kids.
Visible. Yeah. They're in another version of this print that I've seen. They're actually named. You can actually see who they are. The Jade Girl and the Gold Boy.
Really?
But again, it's very. It's not really. I think it's a much more generalized print, drawing on maybe on a local story. Like the New Year image of wealth arriving at the house. Almost the Fudao. And in fact, there's two bats just on.
I was just going to say, are those two bats? Yeah, but shouldn't be five. But anyway, there's two.
Well, just one of them's upside down, so you could say an upside down. I just think this whole idea of good fortune
arriving,
wealth arriving at the door, which is, there are actually in a lot of Eastern China woodblock prints, which are Nianhua of exactly this image of somebody wheeling a cartload of riches. And wherever you get this image, the character is given a different story and a different name. So I think it's something similar. It's a local story, but it's the same idea of just wheeling riches to the door. Wealth arriving at the household. And gold and silver treasury, the name of the house. It's almost like, may my house just
because isn't it Jingying and Bao something, isn't it?
Yeah. So I get the feeling it's just a sort of, there must have been a local story, but it's very similar to other stories that you find around China of this wealth arriving at the household, rather than being a patron
of something or a particular deity of some sort.
As I say, I'm being a little bit presumptuous there because I'm contradicting somebody who had 80 years of life in Beijing studying these things. So I say everything I've just said with great reserve. And I have actually put both versions in the book as a, because I'm definitely not an authority on these, not somebody to be. I like that print because it is quite ambiguous. And again, Ronnie pointed out that often the term uncle is applied as a respectful term to fox deities. And it's interesting that the next character in the collection is
it's a fox deity.
And there is a very generalized grouping throughout this collection of deities. A lot of it's not absolute, but there are a lot of deities that are rain deities that are grouped together, and female deities that are grouped together. And again, so possibly the idea of an uncle deity possibly is a fox. I don't know, but again, this is another aspect that I mentioned, but I don't know the truth.